Hey guys, Eric and Roth here to talk about the Dexter Season 7 finale. If you haven't seen it, we're about to completely spoil it. What was that episode called again, Roth?
Surprise, mother.
That's right. Doakes. We've all been wondering. There was a lot of crazy theories that he was going to show up not really dead. I'm glad they didn't go that route.
Or as a cyborg.
As a cyborg, too.
Which I may have been on board with.
We were really excited going into this finale of Dexter, and a lot was happening.
Yeah, and by the way, I completely called the big surprise ending, because to me, the way they've set this season up so far, the trajectory of the entire season was leading to this moment. It either had to be this ending, or Dexter basically had to just totally change, take responsibility, and turn himself in. But it was brilliant because you have to have this change for this character. You have to, in order for us to stay invested in this final upcoming season.
Yeah, you know, the thing about Dexter was, and what for a while had a lot of people complaining about it was getting very stagnant.
Yeah.
And except for season 4, most of the season finales kind of tied things up in too neat a bow, and it didn't seem like Dexter was really moving forward. It's been great the last 2 seasons, even though season 6 wasn't a great season overall, that the finales have really changed things and had situations happen that you can't take back.
Exactly, and Dexter is moving forward in a way that we haven't seen before. He's basically gone from child baby killer to adult, where you really have to, all of us as adults have to finally eventually take responsibility of all of who we are, or else you just stay in the adolescent stage forever. And that's what he's done with his dad, but no longer.
Yeah, and obviously a big part of his change this season has been Hannah. So let's talk about Hannah and what happened with her in the finale. It was a little strange at the beginning that it just turned out she did poison Deb, only because the week before when she was like, hey, I don't screw up. If I'd poisoned her, she'd be dead. And then it turned out she did screw up, so.
Well, I kind of disagree, and it's funny because I know a lot of people had said that, but I thought that it made perfect sense that Hannah had done that, in fact, because I think it made sense with, if she didn't, it would be too antithetical to who they set up her character to be. There's no way she's gonna let Deb take her down. And the fact of the matter is, whoever you are, everybody is fallible, which means Hannah does screw up, you know, and she did with Deb, thank God. But I liked that she did it, and I think that character has been such a great addition to the show. This is the romantic relationship with Dexter that I've believed in the most, that I felt the most invested in, that I felt the most conflicted about, which I think works for who his character is. And then add to that that she is the inciting incident for his journey into adulthood, which is basically either you're going to take responsibility and turn yourself in, or you're going to decide I'm a killer, and you're going to admit that and embrace it.
Yeah, I almost just wish they had just shown us last week that she did it. That was the only thing I kind of felt like there was no need to hold off that information. But I really like Hannah. I
thought they did.
They didn't show it. They kind of hinted at it, but they never showed that she did it, and then she said she didn't. But and a lot of people, that was why the theory that Deb had poisoned herself. But Hannah's been a great character. Yvonne Strahovski's been great on the show. And I was really glad to see that when she poisoned herself, it wasn't to kill herself.
Yeah.
Because it would have been a little too neat if that character was just gone. She's out there, with, we think, 1 more year of Dexter left. I hope to see her again next year.
Me too.
There are now 2 women in Dexter's life floating out there in the ether that'd be nice to see come back next year.
I feel the most invested with Hannah. I want to see her come back. I love and hate her at the same time, which I think is exactly how we should feel about her. And I think as Dexter takes a as Dexter takes a journey into further darkness, she's his perfect actual living companion rather than the fictional dark companion.
This episode, we referenced the title. We actually saw Doakes. People thought Doakes was going to, turn out to actually be alive. I'm very thankful they didn't go there. But it was fun to see those flashbacks to pre-season 1 and to kind of get that feel of season 1 of Dexter again, I thought.
I did like those cybernetic Doakes memes, though.
Yes.
I will say this, though. I hated Doakes the first. I think we all did, and we were all sort of excited to see him die at the end of the first season. This is the most sympathetic I've ever felt towards Doakes, was in this episode, in these flashbacks. And I think what was cool about it was that all of a sudden I understood why he was such a jerk to Dexter all the time and where he was coming from, which I think helps us. Dexter's been our anti-hero, but we've loved him this whole time. I think now we're having to be confronted as the audience, like, hey, listen, for the past 7 years, you've invested in a murderer as your hero. And I think it was a brilliant move to let us see this is where you should have been coming from, where Doakes was coming from.
I never loved Doakes either, a hard character to like, but what Dexter did as far as letting him take the fall was still one of the worst things Dexter has ever done, because at the end of the day, he was an innocent, and they let Dexter off the hook at the end of season 2 because he didn't have to make that decision, do I kill him or not, because Lila took it out of his hands.
Exactly.
That being the case, it was great to have that reminder in this episode as he was once again faced with a major moment of truth with LaGuerta.
Except that ultimately he, although I do think it was brilliant, again, for propelling these characters forward, he didn't have to do it.
He didn't have to do it, but I did believe he was 100% going to do it this time.
To do it.
Unlike Doakes, where he never made that call. He
Yeah.
was like, oh, what do I do? And then he didn't have to decide. Yeah. This time, he was going to do it. Like, I don't think he was going to stop if Deb didn't come in.
He didn't, and again, that's the influence that Hannah had. Listen, when that scene happened with Dexter and Hannah this season, where she basically was like, why are you pretending to have this other entity? This is just you. This is just who you are. I really felt like that was his maturing moment. You know, he was either really going to have to take one of these two paths, and I thought it would be ridiculous for Dexter to suddenly have an attack of conscience and kind of turn himself in. So the only thing left for him to do is kill LaGuerta.
Yeah.
That's it. That was the only option left for him, and to let go of the code. Now this leads us into really interesting places for this next and possibly final season.
Yeah, and you know, with Deb being the one that does it, it was a very compelling sort of, oh my God moment, especially because we had been waiting to see Deb kind of join forces with Dexter, and she tried when she said, I want you to kill Hannah, and that was going to fit Dexter's code. Hannah's a killer, you kill killers. That was Deb already crossing a line, but this was obviously way more horrible because this was Dexter crossing his own line, and Deb has now completely killed an innocent person.
Yeah, and I think that reaction was so powerful.
Yeah.
I mean, this is everything that Jennifer Carpenter can bring to this role was in that moment. With she did it, she had to do it. I mean, this is it. Ultimately, there's nothing Deb won't do for Dexter, and I think she didn't understand that about herself until that moment. There's nothing in the world that's more important to her than Dexter, but she has crossed this line that I think is going to destroy her throughout the course of the next season. And I think that watching Deb be destroyed by this is what actually will maybe eventually propel Dexter to take full responsibility.
Right, because he's ruined the life of someone he loves so much.
The only person he really loves. I mean, he was willing to give up Hannah for Deb.
Yeah.
You know?
Really great finale, a lot to chew on. You know, a couple of things we could have done without. They didn't figure out what to do with Quinn, so there he was hooking up with Jamie probably at the end, so why not?
I think at this point, unfortunately, the secondary characters just aren't going to matter.
Oh yeah, yeah. Even when you think they are again, then they don't really.
Also don't.
But look, we care mostly about Deb and Dexter, and there's a lot going on with them. So what do you think? What did you think of the finale? What do you think is going to happen in the final season next year? Let us know in the comments, and see you next time.
Bye, mother.